content over everything. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين أجمعين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum, people. I am not here to be divisive. I'm not here to be unnecessarily contentious. I have a little problem which is not going to take long because, like I said, the problem is small. And the issue I'm trying to discuss is the president of the Gambia did a good thing. He's done a laudable thing. He has hauled Aung San Suu Kyi before the court because of her alleged complicity in the ethnocide of the Myanmar, of the Rohingya Muslims of the Rakhine province of the state of Myanmar, which we used to call Burma. All good so far. I think that there are times when we need to pay attention to the least amongst us. It's an overlooked situation because today in the world, the usual assumption is that the Muslims have done something wrong. Is that too loud? That was behind it. No, I'm hearing, I can't hear myself, I'm hearing them. Let's move out of here, come on. I'm only hearing those dudes. Yeah.
You're too close.
They're about to fight, you know. Now.
You're too close, yeah.
Okay, tell me where to stand. We need to prep these things, you know, dude. Yeah. So, I'm looking at this. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Is it good? Are we locked and loaded? All right. So, I'm looking at what is otherwise a very meritorious act on the part of the president of the Gambia to highlight the complicity of another leader of the developing South, in this case Aung San Suu Kyi, of what was formerly called Burma, now Myanmar, in the ethnocide, the ethnic cleansing of the Muslims, the Rohingya Muslims of Rakhine province in Myanmar. So far, so good. My only problem was this year, 2019, commemorates 30 years, a generation, since a similar incident occurred in West Africa, in the country called the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, the Jamhuriya Islamiyya al-Mauritania. And my concern in this matter is that Barrow, the president of the Gambia, is of the same ethnicity as many of the people who were forcibly expelled from Mauritania on the grounds of race. Let me build that up. As we understand Mauritania today, it's a country with two major ethnic groups. Arabs, who call themselves Baydan, meaning whites, and Africans, which is what you would expect in the continent of Africa. However, what has happened in Mauritania over centuries is that the Berber people there were colonized, were conquered by Arabs in the 16th century in a series of wars called Sharbabba. They were conquered, and part of the reorganization of social structures involved the enslavement of black people. And the enslavement of black people would not only happen within the oases of the rapidly expanding Sahara. They were actually the Moors, as they were called later in history, not to be confused with the Moors of the Iberian Peninsula from 711 to 1492. The Mauritanian Moors would actually go into Black Africa, crossing the Senegal River, in order to steal humans for slaves, Black Africans. So this occurred right up to the end of the colonial period and continued into independence. The first time Mauritania officially abolished slavery was either 1980 or 1981. Nevertheless, they had to repeat the promulgation of this edict time and time again because Amnesty International and other bodies discovered the persistence of African slavery in Mauritania throughout the 90s. And what was ironic indeed was the famous singer Dimi Mint Abba. I'm told that she's no longer with us. The famous Mauritanian singer had a very popular song in the 90s in which the song is called Apartheid. Istiqlal is the name of the song, Istiqlal. And in that song she was making a dua. She was making a dua, a supplication to God for the end of apartheid in South Africa. This was around 1991 when she was singing this. The irony of this song is that while Dimi Mint Abba was singing a song making a supplication for the ending of apartheid in South Africa, Mauritanians her people held black Africans as slaves. Now we can unpack that a bit by saying that slavery was a domestic form of slavery that the so-called Hassani Arabs adopted from the Zawiya Berbers whom they met there, so that it cannot easily be laid at the feet of the Arab or the Berber or Islam. It's a function of the history of that area. Now, let me explain that. Why I am questioning what President Barrow of the Gambia is doing by bringing Aung San Suu Kyi of Myanmar to book and not confronting the problem afflicting his own people in Mauritania is, I suspect, because of a similarity in the social structure between the peoples of Senegambia, including Mali and Guinea-Conakry, and the peoples of Mauritania. There is a similarity in the social structure which leads me to conclude that when Senegalese and Malians and Guineans and Gambians go to Mauritania, they witness a social structure that's similar to something that they themselves have only recently left behind. In that part of West Africa, there is something akin to a caste system. And this caste system, not as ingrained or as institutionalized as the Hindu caste system, nevertheless, this caste system is premised upon levels, structures in the society in which some people are more privileged than others. And this is as true of the Manding people of the ancient empire of Mali. It is as it is of the Soninke people of what was called the ancient empire of Ghana, Ouagadougou, and it was equally true of the people of the latest empire of all, the empire of Songhai. All of the people of the upper Guinea coast, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, the countries today that conform to those names, have a caste system. And it is, although the caste system is rapidly disintegrating, there are still echoes of it, indications of it, by the people's surnames. It's one of the few parts of Africa where people have retained a custom of surnames. And looking at surnames, it is possible to socially grade a person. For example, in the ancient empire of Mali, as it is today, if anybody is called Keita, the surname Keita, that's a nobleman. He's a person of high standing because the empire of Mali was founded by one Sunjata Keita. His right-hand man was Touré Maran. So there are two names which are considered among the people of Mali up to today as high-class names. Keita is definitely one of them. In fact, the first president of the Independent Republic of Mali, I believe his name was Modibo Keita. And I assume that he would have been pushed forward for preferment because of his status in the caste system. A Keita would not marry a Jabate. Jabates played music. They were the people in the ancient empire of Mali. When you went to the court of the ancient empire of Mali, they would sing the praises of the royalty. They would have instruments like the kora and an instrument that looks like a massive xylophone called the balafon. They would play these instruments and sing the lineage of the king, the sultan, the emir, and so forth of Mali. He, however, that griot, or called Jali in the Manding language, was of low status. And you can know them by their surnames like Jabate. A Jabate would not be allowed to marry a Keita. And there is another status below that called Jong. Jong in the ancient empire of Mali and today in Manding society means slave. It is the same among the Wolof, Jam. That status is a slave. And you have low caste status people, fishermen among the Fulani, among the Wolof are of low status. A family name like Gay among the Wolof or Cham cannot marry easily to a Jop. Jop among the Wolof is of high status. Cham is Tiga. Tiga is blacksmith. Blacksmith is low status. So the truth is, this structure of noblemen, artisans, and slaves at the bottom also existed in Mauritania. The difference in Mauritania, it was color-coded. The slaves were almost invariably black. That's the difference. But what I am wondering about is, and I'm coming back to my point, why would, and I'm praising it. I started by praising the president of the Gambia by saying, why is he going all the way to Burma, to Myanmar, to hold Aung San Suu Kyi before the International Court for her alleged complicity in the ethnocide of the Rohingya Muslims of the Rakhine province, when in the Senegambia region you have Africans who have been ethnically cleansed from Mauritania, living in a legal no man's land status in northern Senegal on the banks of the Senegal River. Across the river from which that position they stand, they could see their original homeland, but they cannot go there because that opposite bank of the river is Mauritania. So this side of the river is Rosso Senegal. When you cross the Senegal River, you are in Rosso Mauritanie, Mauritanian Rosso. But that area where they once lived, in 1989, there was an ethnic cleansing and they were forcibly removed. And the usual reason often cited is the inevitable collision as the desert increases between pastoral nomads and settled farmers. But there is more than just that. For about a good 2 decades, black Mauritanians had started standing up to the debate, the degradation and enslavement by Moorish Arabs in Mauritania. What am I talking about? You see, the blacks of Mauritania can be subdivided into 2 groups. Mauritanian Arabs, the ruling class, are only about 30% of the country. But they claim about 70% of the country because there are another 40% who are black like you and me, but think as Arabs because they are the descendants of slaves and they are called Haratin. They dress like the Mauritanian Hassani Arab Baidan people. They eat pretty much what they eat. They, most importantly, speak the same language and no other language but Hassani Arabic. So, to all intents and purposes, they are black in appearance like other African ethnic groups of Mauritania, like the Soninke, like the Wolof, and the Tukulor. They look like them, but they don't think like them. In other words, you put it like this. Take our people who were deracinated, alienated from our culture. Imagine us going back to Africa with white Americans. Or imagine we're American blacks. Let's pretend we're not Caribbean, we're American blacks now. Imagine we go back to Africa, to the Gambia, with white Americans and start acting like, oh my God, we got no hamburgers, I want hot dogs, I want a milkshake, I want hot dogs. Now the African Mandinka in the Gambia or the Wolof will say, as far as I'm concerned, that man may be black, but we don't see him as black because he ain't behaving black. And that is part of the problem of Mauritania. Centuries, maybe 2 or 3 centuries of generations being brought up as slaves to the Arab Mauritanians have caused the black Mauritanian to be completely alienated from the other African ethnic groups in Mauritania, the Tukulor, the Soninke, and the Wolof. So when now the Arab Mauritanian, the Hassani Mauritanian, who call themselves Baydan, meaning whites, when they attempt to impose themselves on the Tukulor, the Soninke, and the Wolof, the way they do with their own Haratin, they get a pushback. They get pushback because they come trying to treat the Africans who know themselves as they treat their former slaves who are called Haratin. I wonder if I've made this social structure clear enough for people to understand. The people who have been deracinated, who are black but behave like Moors, are called Haratin. They are called Haratin. They are to be differentiated because in terms of how they act and how they vote and how they operate, they go with the Arab Mauritanian overlords. They go with the white Arab ruling class. They don't roll with the black ethnic African. So that's the problem. When the Mauritanian Moors, the Arab Moors, the Hassani Moors, attempted to extend their attitude, the way they treat black people, onto the ethnic African groups, the other African groups who knew themselves said, we don't play like that. We don't play that. And they began to organize themselves, even radicalizing, I'm using that word, many of the Haratin. Many of the Haratin began to become radicalized into saying, oh, we're black, but that does not mean we're born to be slaves forever. We don't have to be vassals. Here we have free Tukulor demonstrating against maltreatment. We have free Soninke speaking their own language, demonstrating against marginalization. Why are we taking this? But then that began to happen. The Arab Moors of Mauritania began to crack down, removing from a lot of political positions, even professional positions like teachers, a lot of the black African Tukulor, Soninke, or Wolof. And 1989 was a tinderbox waiting to be kindled. It caught fire. The border dispute took place. The problem I noticed is Senegal tried to contain the problem on their side of the border. The Senegalese were saying, they do this to us in Mauritania. They are rounding us up at night like cattle, putting us into trucks and forcibly deporting us across the river. Stop burning Mauritanian shops in Dakar, Senegal. This was happening. It had started to happen. In Banjul, Gambia, it started to happen. But these people, the Gambia and political leadership and the Senegalese political leadership tried to keep a lid on things. In Mauritania, it was quite the opposite. They were actually rounding up Mauritanians who know no other country but Mauritania, but because of their being black, they automatically seized upon this pretext to deport anybody black in order to ethnically cleanse the country. It's, in a lot of ways it was worse. What I'm saying is, this is the 30-year anniversary of it, and the world, even the Pan-African community, doesn't seem to be aware of it. They haven't been speaking about it. Look, you mentioned the Dominican Republic. This in a lot of ways was worse, but nobody's talking about it. And in my opinion, because Senegal and the Gambia have not made a big enough deal about it. So I'm worried, why is the President Barrow of the Gambia more worried about Aung San Suu Kyi than about what's happened to his people in Mauritania? After all, a large number of the people that were deported from Mauritania across the river into Fouta Toro in Senegal are Fulani like himself. Barrow is a Fulani, the president of the Gambia. Macky Sall, the president of Senegal, is a Fulani. Large numbers of the people deported for no reason at all but being black. They are Muslim the same as the Mauritanian Arabs are Muslim. So nobody can say it's a dynamic like in Sudan.
So are the light Arabs running Mauritania?
Yes, they have been. Yes.
This is all news to me.
You see, because I don't understand why the people at the cold face of this problem, Senegal and Gambia, do not speak about it. It's as if, and I was wondering,
Internationally,
yes, not much was. Look, even when the worst atrocities were happening to even Senegalese nationals, expats, working in Mauritania, kicked out and beaten up, their property taken and whatnot, the Senegalese were trying to keep a lid on reprisals inside Senegal. It did happen. Mauritanians got their heads busted, their shops burned down.
Mauritanians,
Yeah, Mauritanians. But to a large extent, Senegal were trying to increase the peace. I get that. I understand it. But what I noticed is the world, the rest of Africa, did not rally round to say, look, listen, the time for disrespecting black people is at an end. They didn't do that.
Why do you think that's a common theme of Africa, especially as it's the majority, man? What's going on?
First of all, I think, and I was trying to do the anthropology of Senegal and Gambia. First of all, I suspect they didn't make a big enough deal about it because their social structure is so similar to Mauritania. The difference is that where you have the lowest castes in all those cultures there, the Wolof, the Serer, the Soninke, the Fulani, in Mauritania the lowest caste tends to be black. So you and me going to Mauritania woke, we'd see it. What puzzles me is Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, who studied in Mauritania, didn't see it.
Or claim not to see it.
He white. No, he white. Yeah? I'm serious. I like the brother, but I understand something about white privilege. I understand how it operates. It insulates you from a lot of other problems.
This dude,
Oh, well, he gonna explain it to you later. He's a sheikh of great learning who lives in an Islamic scholar, a convert to Islam. He's a white man, he's a white man, he's a white man.
in Senegal or Ghana.
No, listen to me. He is a white man from California. He is a convert to Islam. He's done very well in terms of studying and advancing the cause of Islam. He's traveled around the world, given lectures for free. He did a lot of good things for Islam. However, he made a couple gaffes. You know when people get a little too big and they think they can hold forth on every subject? He made a few mistakes discussing the situation of black people in America, and now he's kind of keeping a low profile. But I was the first person who mentioned why, because I have been to Mauritania. I was in Mauritania in 1987, right? In 1988, I was in Senegal. I saw some of this problem beginning. Now I ask people, why is it Sheikh Hamza Yusuf did not see black slaves in Mauritania when I saw them? Why went there before he did? And I don't think they had cleaned it. Maybe, I don't know, they hid it away from him, or perhaps, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, he must have thought that these were just house servants. I don't know. But the fact still remains, what we see and what we feel, they do not feel. And that is a thing that Malcolm X alluded to when he said, here is the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. Here is the Organization of African Unity. Both are necessary for our survival, because there's a lot of stuff Muslims experience, and we share that pain with the rest of the Muslim world. But there is stuff that black people experience that other Muslims are they're oblivious to. They don't care because it don't affect them. And we need to be at the forefront of discussing things like this. I am not throwing cold water on this magnanimous contribution of Barrow, the president of the Gambia, by hauling Aung San Suu Kyi into court because of her alleged complicity in the ethnocide of the Rakhine state, of the Rohingya Muslims. It's a good thing. It's a great thing as far as it goes. But why not, can't you do the two things at the same time? Why not both? Call out Aung San Suu Kyi, call her out, yeah, but also call out the administration of Mauritania for its decades of having to keep repromulgating a law abolishing slavery, because it's observed in the breach. The law has ever been observed in the breach. They have never stopped keeping black people as slaves. And some people who send their children there, who used to, learned that their children were treated like that. People from the Gambia, some people from Mali, feeling that, well, because here's it, oh, I forgot to mention that. One of the reasons you find this ambivalence, this hesitation on the part of Senegambians to call out Mauritania is because a lot of their people originally came from that area. Like I was saying, think about the Soninke people. The Soninke people of that area. They don't have a homeland as such. A large number of them are in Mali, a good number are in the Gambia, some are in Senegal, some are in Mauritania. But the ancient Africa's earliest empire, the ancient empire of Ghana, which they call Ouagadougou, the heartland was south, what is called southeastern Mauritania today. That's what it was. And those people were the Soninke. But as time passed, they got pushed out of their land. And that coincided with the arrival of the Berbers and later the Battle of Shurbaba when the Arabs came in the 16th century. So that's what happened there. The Berbers were, that's another story, but they've been there long. What happened is you got people like the Tuareg. When the camel was introduced into Africa, a lot of the coastal Berbers managed to be able to travel south of the Sahara using the camel and trading salt from the north for gold and ivory and slaves from the south. But that's a different story. The point is, I'm trying to understand why, yeah, well, all of these people came from there. Because remember the empires, I mentioned Ouagadougou, ancient Ghana. Later that was superseded by the ancient empire of Mali. Sunjata Keita, noble name Keita, we talked about this. That empire, when it collapsed, it was incorporated by a later empire, a bigger empire called Songhai. And the eclectic nature of the ancient empire of Songhai is attested to by the ruler Muhammad Askia Touré, who was a Soninke. Muhammad Askia Touré was not a Songhai. He was a Soninke. So he was actually a person who would have been from the founding empire of ancient Ghana.
So a Songhai, is that a people?
There are still people, they live in northeastern Mali.
So I thought that was a of the Malian.
It was an empire, but the ethnic group called the Songhai they're much reduced in circumstance. They're not a big, powerful empire like in the medieval days, before they got destroyed.
1600s.
Yeah, well, in 1591, Morocco invaded and destroyed Timbuktu and actually brought about the disintegration of the empire of Songhai. But what I'm saying is, when that happened, all those people started moving south. They started moving south. So they ended up in areas like the Gambia, Guinea-Conakry, Senegal. So they have an emotional attachment to places like Mauritania. So there's a kind, and plus a lot of their shuyukh scholars, Islamic scholars, did come from there, and some studies there. So there is this cognitive dissonance, I think, in the minds of the president of Senegal, Macky Sall, and in the mind of the president Barrow of the Gambia, being Fulani themselves, Tukulor Fulani themselves, about how they should respond to the racism and slavery in Mauritania. I think the similarity, the shared social structure, the classificatory system with nobles at the top, almost feudal, and slaves at the bottom, is what makes them less strident in their denunciation of what's happening in Mauritania. So here you have Barrow making Aung San Suu Kyi his business rather than the president of Mauritania. And I think I am just trying to end by saying I applaud President Barrow of the Gambia for what he is doing in terms of highlighting something that the world has become indifferent to, the persecution, the genocide of the people of the Muslims, Rohingya Muslims of Myanmar. However, I think it is possible for him to do two things at the same time and direct as much attention to the injustices meted out to the people, the black peoples of Mauritania, his own people, in keeping with the old proverb in French, which President Macky Sall would understand, charité bien ordonnée commence à soi-même. Charité bien ordonnée commence à soi-même. C'est-à-dire, which is to say, charity begins at home. You look after your people first, as the hadith or the Quran says, save yourself and your family from the fire of hell. He should be looking after his people, and then you look after other people. But I don't deplore the man's efforts bringing the head of state of Myanmar to book, because at the end of the day, he is looking at this from a position of Islam, and they are his Muslim brothers and sisters. He's also looking at it from a position, these are the wretched of the earth, these people. They are at the lowest level and receive the least consideration from the international community. They are being left to die. They are being rejected by Bangladesh as overstretched, can't take any more, and the Myanmar military is just using them for a turkey shoot, killing them as they find them, raping their women and so forth. So I think I want to end here by saying, I want to finish on the point of saying I have no objection to what the President Barrow of Gambia is doing by hauling her into court. What I want him to do, I want to add to what he's doing. I want to support what he's doing and say, now, look at your own people and feel the same amount of compassion for them in the light of the black slavery that is happening, committed by your northern neighbor Mauritania on your people, and attempt to address that problem too. I think I've said as much as needs to be said on this subject. I've discussed the social structure of the anthropology, the similarity in social structure of Mauritania as well as Gambia and Senegal, which makes the Senegambian people less exercised about the problem of levels of servitude in the society. And I know a lot of people will feel uncomfortable about my saying that. There's also something very laissez-faire in the temperament of the Senegalese. Remember, Senegal, quite uncharacteristically, might be the only West African country that has never had a military coup. It is also a curious country where the founding father, its first president, Leopold Sédar Senghor, was a Catholic. He was a Christian in a 95% Muslim country. And so Senegalese do have this tendency, I say, love and let love, not just live and let live. They do that. But you can't laugh away or dance away all your problems and not confront the issue of racism and oppression from your northern neighbor that calls itself Jamhuriya Islamiyya al-Mauritania, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. I think I will end on that note. Thank you all for your kind attention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Respect. Respect.
Thank you. Thank you. Barakallah fiqh. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
From your man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
The slaves for black Africans. And it wasn't a slave trade like the transatlantic slave. It wasn't like that. And I want a lot of people who listen to this to try to understand this. Because it's a simple thing I'm trying to say here. In the days before industrialization and heavy militarization and heavy technology, it was just like the Vikings taking slaves from the Anglo-Saxons. To me, that is how I see Arab slavery. That's why the Arabs got beaten twice in Nubia. They had the same weapons. The Romans had got beaten before the Arabs in Nubia. The first time the Arab expansion was stopped ever was by black people in Nubia.
Golden arrows?
Yeah, well, they call it people of the arrows. The people of the arrows, of the bow. The land of the bow. Ta-seti. They call it in the ancient black Kemetic language. The people of the bow. So what I'm trying to say, in those situations, you saw that When people want to talk about the Arabs have been taking slaves from time immemorial, it's people with the same kind of technology fighting each other. Now, when you come to transatlantic slavery and the Ottoman period, you're talking about a different kind of slavery. There's cannon and big guns, and you're fighting people with only a spear, and you know what I'm saying? And you're inferiorizing, that's a verb I'm inventing now. You're inferiorizing people. That's different.